Hey, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. This time we are fresh back from the Atlantic City 2 days of regional escapades, and we have some awesome news, guys. I'm super duper proud to say that on the Saturday regional I came in 5th place after Swiss, and there was no top cut, so I came in 5th place overall. And then on day 2 I was able to come in 11th place overall. So I made top cut both days according to the Bandai invite kind of rulings, where they're giving out regional invites per 8 players at each event. So day 1 they gave out 20 invites. I was 5th, so I did make that top 20 top cut. And then day 2 they actually gave out 11 invites, so I did make 11th place, so I made like top 11, I guess you can say. But as far as like the KTM points go, I made top 8 on day 1, and I made top 16 on day 2. So I'm pretty proud of that. I'm super stoked about my results. Just a quick thing before we get into this, guys. I know that my camera is kind of blocking a little bit of the deck list, and the deck list is actually a lot of different cards, so we're actually kind of even have to scroll down to see the rest of the deck list. I'll scroll down now so you guys can get a little bit of a snapshot of it. So after this top row of cards, I'll scroll down and you guys can see the rest of the deck list there at the end. So I'm going to go over each and every individual card of the deck list. So that was just a little snapshot if you guys just wanted to see the deck list. But yeah, so a little bit of backstory about the event. I knew I was going to this event for months and months, and I've been playtesting different things. Like with SS3 getting banned, I like Soul Striker a lot. I was actually playtesting Mono Blue Trunks. I was playtesting U7 Frieza, and I was playtesting U7 Gohan. I liked U7 Gohan a lot because it had a lot of things that I thought it could do well in the format. It could draw out of getting cell chained, it could draw out of getting chain Zenoed, and it could just plus a bajillion on different decks and play free blockers and Bean for Storm. So I really liked the concept of the deck going forward, and I was doing pretty well with it in playtesting. But as the event got closer and closer, for some reason I started to do worse and worse with the deck. Different matchups were giving me really big issues, and I was just losing a lot with the deck, and I really wasn't comfortable with it. So I was really struggling to figure out what to play, and my teammates over at Shenron's Lair, the awesome team that I'm on, they just said to me, play Hercule, play the best deck, no regrets. And 90% of the credit for the creation of this deck goes to my man Chris Welch and everyone else that worked on the deck. Pat is also a huge part of that, and everyone else that worked on the deck is just so incredibly genius for coming up with this deck. So I want to thank them a lot for just convincing me to play it. I have absolutely no regrets. I changed like 1 or 2 cards here and there to make it fit my playstyle and my schema of the meta a little bit. So super duper big shout outs to them for helping me prep this deck and like convince me to play it realistically. It led me to a lot of success this weekend. Super duper grateful. I also want to preface real quick that we'll be getting back to more of our normal content with like the podcast, with the deck dissections, with the deck profiles, with the card discussions, all that fun stuff for you guys. We'll be getting back to a little bit more next week. This week we have a lot of regional wrap up and regional content. This will be my 5th place tournament report. I'll do a 2-parter. So tomorrow I'll do the my changes and like my tournament report for the 11th place profile, because I did change some cards in the deck going into day 2. And then we're going to have a couple player interviews to wrap up the rest of the week, and then next week we'll get back to a little bit more of our normal schedule with content. So I wanted to let you guys know that. But as far as that goes, we'll get right into the profile, then we'll get into the tournament report. So I played the Hercule leader. Now, a lot of people, if you know about card advantage, you can look at this leader and say like, wow, he draws a card every single time you combo on his swing, or if he swung at it. That's pretty insane, you know, not negating cards on combos to protect yourself. What a lot of people also acknowledge, though, is that he's a small leader. He's a 5K on the unawakened side and a 10K on the awakened side, and that might seem a little weird because it seems like you'll have to combo up to save damage. But realistically, in any matchup that is not Chain Attack Zeno or not Cell Chain, you just want to eat those shots to the face. You want to let your opponent awaken you, or awaken yourself with your Awakening Talent Pan, and just get to that sweet spot of awakening so you can just go crazy plus on your opponent. If you don't have to worry about getting your hand wiped or your hand reset, you go for broke. You let your opponent give you as many cards as they can, maybe comboing out of crits and things like that if you can do it without negging, but you just let your opponent awaken you. Against those matchups like Chain Attack Zeno and Cell Chain, you play a bit more conservatively, and you do have to combo up to protect your life total, but that's not a big deal because against those decks anyway, against Cell Chain, against Chain Zeno, your hand is going to be something you could lose at any point, so it's totally fine to combo it away in terms of allowing your life total to stay high so that their Chain Zeno and their Cell Chains aren't as valuable. So with that being said, the leader's insane. The draw 3 and awaken is absolutely nuts. So we'll get into the main deck. And also Play-by-Play Pro is our only negate in the deck. Didn't really miss Whis all weekend. There were a couple matchups where it would have been good. I didn't main or side any Whis, but it could be something to look into going forward, but announcer play was really, really good. And in the mirror match and in slow matchups like announcer, this card is incredible on offense to just draw you more cards, dig deeper into the deck, and see your big plays. 3 announcer, ever curious. Searches any of your link plays you're missing, like your test of strengths or your awkward situations. It hits your talent, awakening talent pan, which is actually incredibly important in the mirror match and incredibly important in slower matchups, especially like announcer and victory strike, which I will get more into a little bit with the tournament report. I opted to play 2 Mass Sand in the main deck. A lot of my teammates only played 1 Mass Sand. I thought it'd be a little bit better in the current format we were in, with all like the announcer decks running around and like the 1-drop brush running around with like all of the announcers and all the 1-drop attackers. So and like Goten Bardock, stuff like that. So I went for 2 Mass Sand where a lot of my teammates played 1. That was one of my slight differences. Scientist Fu really underperformed all day. He wasn't realistically the win con in almost any matchup. It was kind of either out resourcing, which you would think Scientist Fu allows you to do, but Mirror Creator Absorb going for ginormous damage on a double strike with a East Kai, it was just a lot more impactful. So I ended up cutting him for day 2, but he was okay. At any point you don't need any of these cards. The great thing is you just combo it away to draw like an Unbreakable Son Goku. So the fact that it was sort of an underperformer didn't really matter, but it was still a solid card all around. Helps you dig back up from getting cell chained. Mirror Creator Absorb, this card is absolutely insane all day. It won me several games alone, just like swinging for that last life when I knew they couldn't negate, or even just sneaking the chomp onto it, or dealing with big issue cards. It was really, really good. And again, combos draws a card with this leader. Fu Shrouded, again, another incredible card. Your main win con is going to be the next card I'm going to talk about, but this card can help you recover from getting that thing that I'm going to talk about next dropped on you. And it also just, it says if your opponent's 2 life and you have 10 in your warp and you're on 6 energy, it just says you win the game. So, and again, combo it, draw a card, cannot really go wrong with it. We really need to play all these black cards and all these overwhelms for the next card, which is Beyond Darkness Demi-Gra. And this card was the MVP of the weekend. This card won me countless games. I hadn't had a chance to play test this deck too much after I decided to play it. I play tested it mostly against my my good testing buddies announcer deck. So that was the matchup I had the most experience with, and it's very similar to the mirror match. You have to get to your mid game bomb before your opponent can. In the Hercule versus announcer deck, it's like you got to get to Demi-Gra before they can get to the World Tournament Secret Rare, which is actually really easy to do because you can very easily play around them having the Secret Rare World Tournament. And in the mirror match, you have to get to Demi-Gra first. And the really great thing is that since I'm on the best team in the freaking game, we were on to the Demi-Gra Spice before most of the other players that were playing Hercule were. So in matchups where I was playing in the mirror match, let's say, I had the Demi-Gra Secret Rare knowledge. They did not. It was not in their 65, and that really led me to a lot of victories. So super duper grateful again to my team for that. They're the best. All right, then we had 4 Zeno Button. This is another card that really puts this deck over the top. It's not like a mono blue deck by any means, but almost all of your charge will be blue, maybe 1 off color if you really need to. But this card allows Hercule to shine because you are able to combo all those 10Ks, and you're able to combo up to like a normal size leader. Let's say like if you're on the Awakened side getting swung at by a 15K leader and you're only a 10K leader, well, Zeno Button, I can combo a 10K, and I only wasted 1 card to match up, and that card replaced itself. So Zeno Button is technically a -1 in card advantage, but the fact that Hercule draws so much and awakens and draws 3 really mitigates that problem. And we had 4 Sensor Bean. This allows you to become as big as other leaders, especially on the Awakened side. 15K for 15Ks, and 2 to 3 beans can really just literally end a Storm player's turn. So incredibly great card, especially for the format. I definitely would not cut it even if Storm became unprevalent, because all the 10K combos in the deck, you need to be able to untap energy on defense. 3 Awakening Pan, one of the most important cards in the mirror match. My opponent not having access to it and me being able to see it actually won me a few games. So this is a card I actually bumped up to 4 going into day 2. 3 Awkward Situation Trunks and Awkward Situation Otokoski. These cards answered big problem cards. Theoretically, they were in there for Victory Strike and U7 Frieza Chain. I luckily dodged all U7 Frieza and Victory Strike matchups. Those are a little bit of tougher matchups for this deck. But they did put in work against the 3 Cell Chain opponents I played this weekend. So wouldn't cut them. 3 and 3 on them is fine because you do draw so much throughout the deck, and you can side more additional copies if you need them. I didn't side any more Trunks and Otokoskis, but I did side more Gokus and Oobs, which I'll get to in a second. 4 top of his Game Sun Gohan as my super combo. You can really go with any super combo you like in the deck. However, I would recommend going with a yellow super combo in the future, because some of my teammates did actually sideboard a yellow package that allowed them to play Crusher Ball, which actually beats out Demi-Gra and U7 Beerus that you'll see in the sideboard in a minute. And it allows you to play Battering Laser as well, which beats out Xenobutton in the mirror match. So you can actually, if the play requires it, you can ditch a super combo as an additional yellow so that your Battering Lasers can be live, and you will have access to Crusher Ball as well, which really is helpful in the mirror match. So there's a lot of counterplay to this like really insane deck, which is actually really cool. We haven't seen much counterplay to the insane decks in a while, but yeah, there's a lot of actually decent counterplay to this deck. So big fan of it, big fan of the format right now. It's pretty cool. Then we have 3 test strengths on Goku and 3 test strength Oob. One of the most insane combos you can do as a world tournament leader. It's some of the best removal in the game right now. Only 3 and 3 because you do see so much of your deck with this deck, and it's not super relevant in every matchup. I do side the 4th copy of each in case it is more prevalent, but in any world tournament mirror match where your opponent can be playing Goku Oob, Goku Oobing them first is actually really bad, because if you don't Goku Oob them for max value, if you don't hit back like 2 15 or 20k guys, and then they Goku Oob you back and shuffle back your Goku Oob, you're going to be at a pretty big neg there. So a lot of times Goku Oob does not get dropped in the mirror match, and it's mostly just a charge, a blue charge, and then you're racing to the Demigod Secret Rare. Then we have the 1 at all costs Vegeta. This is another awakening tool in the deck. It was almost like the copy of the 4th pan, but it allowed me to rip 2 life instead of 1. I really wasn't a huge fan of it all day. I say this a lot. I'm not a huge fan of at all costs Vegeta in any deck that's not running yellow, because a card that makes you go down to awkward life situations, like putting yourself down to 2 or 3, and can just be negated potentially, to me is not worth it. The spot removal is nice, and that did come up once or twice throughout the day, but I ended up cutting it for the 4th pan on the 2nd day. But you'll see more of that profile when I talk about that in the next video. Then we had 2 Hidden Power E Supreme Kai. This card was just in there for the sneaky wins. It paired really well with Champa, and in any worst case, it was a 10k draw card combo. So really good card. Wouldn't change the numbers on that. Then we had 3 Double Shot Vegeta. This card was weird during the day. A lot of my teammates said it was the weakest card in the deck. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. It very well could have been, but it was another way to combo a 10k that plussed you instead of just either replacing itself or negging 1. And it did help for like matchups where you needed to help clear board, whether they can span the board really wide, like if you played against veggies or something like that. It was actually another cool thing you can do is like you can put 1 or 2 into play, and you can bait your opponent into Goku Oobing them, and you wouldn't really care because both those Double Shot Vegetas had most likely replaced themselves after you had put them into play, so you didn't really take too much of a neg there, and then you can Goku Oob their Goku Oob. So kind of a way to bait your opponent and get more swings onto the board that way. Then we had 4 Unbreakable Super Saiyans on Goku. This on top of your super combo allows you to draw 2 cards on a super combo with Hercule, not just 1. So the pluses there are really insane. Like a lot of times, if like I'm letting my opponent awaken me, but if I need to see more cards in my deck because I need just a better hand, like my opponent will swing at me with their 15k battle card, let's just say, on my 5k side, and I'll combo the Unbreakable to just draw 1 off the Unbreakable and draw 1 off the leader and take the damage. So I'll just draw 3 cards off that and get closer to awakening. So that paired with the fact that it's just incredible defense. Like one game I was able to combo out of like 125k Mira double strike for game, and Unbreakable and super combos were one of the biggest reasons I was able to do that. So really solid card, one of the best cards in the deck. So for the sideboard, we had 3 Time Control Klonoa. This was of course in there for any Shugesh matchups, but we didn't really play any Shugesh matchups all day on Saturday, thank goodness. But this actually came in, believe it or not, any single time that Demigod became your main win con, which is like the mirror match, which is like announcer, and a lot of times, like I said before, against Cell Chain. So this card comes in, lets you cycle through your deck more, dig for that Demigod because there's a 1-of, you do need to dig for it, and you just combo it away to draw even more cards. So it's crazy at allowing you to dig, and you just need it to fuel your Demigod play. So this came in a lot of times even against non-Shugesh decks. 3 Haru Haru, this is for any green-yellow matchups. Like I said, didn't play against any yellow decks, but it was OP as heck against the Cell Chain decks, which I did play 3 of over the course of the weekend. So I was just able to make ginormous boards with Haru Haru and things like that. So my opponent can take my hand away, doesn't matter. I have a giant board to just go for game with. 2-dimensional Banisher Fu comes in matchups where Trunks Otokoski is really good in. So like it did come in for Cell Chain. That was really the #1 thing it came in for. It also came in sometimes during the mirror match, especially if they were playing the Demigod Secret Rare, because at least if they could drop it on me first, if they went first and had the opportunity to do that, at least I had answers for it. So like what you want to do in going second a lot of times is hoard as many answers as you can for the Demigod Secret Rare, so that they can't potentially rip out all the answers. And if they're ripping out answers, it means they're not ripping out super combos, so you have like some slight ability to recover. It's pretty hard to recover from getting the Demigod Secret Rare dropped on you, but it is possible, guys. Then we played 3 Mafuba. This is for any like boss monster type deck, especially for Victory Strike. Didn't play against Victory Strike, thank goodness, because it is a tough matchup for this deck. They never actually came in all weekend. Actually, they did come in all weekend, just not on Saturday. But I wouldn't change them for anything. They're that important against Victory Strike. The additional Test Strength Goku and Test Strength Oob. There are matchups this is relevant in, especially against like things like veggies and where your opponent's trying to basically hoard the board with attackers. It's not so great in the World Tournament matchups, like I explained before, because you don't want to Goku Oob first, because then it's going to Goku Oob your Goku Oob, and you're going to take a big neg on that. But it is really good against board presence matchups that aren't World Tournament based. And finally, in the side deck, we sided the 2 Beerus Universe 7 Divine Vanquisher, more mid-game bombs for mid-game, late-game matchups. So basically, you had like your Hercule mirrors, your announcer matchups, you had your Chain Zeno matchups this would come in against, because it's actually pretty devastating to drop on them after a Chain Zeno. So this card came in where you needed more additional finishers on top of Demigra. So guys, that was the main end side deck. I was really happy with the 65. A couple things I changed going into day 2, but I'll get more into that later. Alright guys, so now I'm going to go over the tournament report from day 1. Like I said, I'm going to cut this into 2 parts. Day 1 tournament report, day 2 tournament report will probably come out tomorrow. So I'm going to tell you guys about how I did at the tournament, because I'm pretty proud of it, but also I'm going to give you guys some matchup game knowledge, so you guys know how to efficiently like go into these games when you do play this deck against different matchups. So round 1, I sit across the table from Android leader, obviously most likely playing the Cell Chain, because it's one of the most devastating things you can do in the game. I hadn't playtested this against Cell Chain at all, and I was a little bit nervous going into game 1 against that, but I know kind of how to play the game, and you want to basically stall your Awaken as long as you can until you can go for a kill shot, because you don't ever want to be left at a point where you can't recover from a Cell Chain, and your draw 3 allows you to recover from a Cell Chain really well. So you want to be able to stall that as much as you can. Like, you want to negate attacks that are going to threaten big swings of your life. Like, a lot of times they'll drop the 1-drop crit go on against me, and those ones I'll oftentimes negate, because if I'm going to eat a shot to the face, I'd rather it be a card I'll get to my hand, and I can like combo to cycle through different cards in order to see more cards to answer their attacks. And then like if they're going to attack me with their 10k leader, I'll just combo it Unbreakable, draw 1 off of the Unbreakable, draw 1 off my leader, and not take the damage. So at any point you can keep your life total as high as possible, especially against Cell Chain. It's going to be really beneficial for you guys. You don't want to Awaken, like I said, until you can go for a kill shot. And in these matchups, I found that prioritizing the Demigra Secret Rare was really good. Ripping their combo pieces out of their hand so that they can't Cell Chain you and they can't make big plays against you was really solid. So yeah, game 1, like I said, stall the Awaken until the kill shot. You really don't want to put them at 4 life either, because even if you have an Awakened and they're at 4 life, if they have the hand to do it, they can put you down to 0 cards in hand. So they can go like Cell Chain, put you down to 0, put you down to 3, and then they can drop the Tewa that makes you discard another card, putting you down to 2. And if they have 2 super combos, they can make you go down to 0 cards in hand. And even with an Awaken, a leader Awaken drawing you 3 cards, it's pretty hard to recover from getting your hand put down to 0. So you really want to also keep them at 6 to 5 life as long as you can before allowing them to Cell Chain you as well. So game 2 is actually kind of interesting. He had 1 life, and he went for his second Cell Chain play of the game, and I still hadn't Awakened to this point. And he went for that Cell Chain play, and he discovered that his last 1 life that he had was his last 5-drop cell. Had 2 in charge, had already been through 1 Cell Chain, and his last one was his last life. So he couldn't really do much after that. I Awakened because I knew he couldn't Cell Chain me anymore, and I went for game. Round 2, I won 2-0 against Hercule and Zeno. Same idea as Chain Zeno, same idea as Cell Chain rather. You need to stall the Awaken as long as you can and protect your life total. You really can't afford to go down to low life, especially against Chain Zeno, and you can't afford to Awaken before a Chain Zeno realistically. You do have a decent chance of recovering after getting Chain Zeno, even if you're forced to Awaken. You just really don't want to do it, because you want to be able to blow them out after they have to Chain Zeno you, because the deck doesn't naturally plus a lot. They actually want to go neg to deal you damage and then reset with Chain Zeno. So if you can combo in this deck, like I know this deck can, by comboing Unbreakables and whatnot, you can maintain up on card advantage even when they're trying to deal damage to you and not take hits. You know, you might go down to 5 or 6 life, but as long as you don't Awaken, even if they put you down to 4 life, as long as you cannot Awaken and force them basically to reset their own hand because it's so bad at that point or so low, and then you'd be able to blow them out from there and go for a kill shot. So yeah, game 1 I stalled the Awaken till the kill turn. Never made it worth him to Zeno me, keeping my hand at around 6-7 cards. Like I said, deck doesn't clutch very much, so I made them Zeno me and then Awaken myself after they Zeno me. Game 2, same story. I was able to actually win without awakening him. Without awakening myself, I mean. Round 3, I 1-0'd the Hercule mirror because we went into time. Hercule mirror matches are so grindy and take so long to complete, so you're oftentimes going to go to time in the mirror match. So I played against Roddle Mac from T4T. Great player, awesome opponent, super awesome play against him, but I was luckily on the Demigod Secret Rare, and him and his team were not. So, or at least some of his team was not, as far as I know. So game 1 was a raw advantage game. I came out on top. I wasn't able to hit the Demigod Secret Rare, but I was able to still come out on top through raw advantage. And then game 2, I went for the Demigod Secret Rare, but I had to combo a way to live, survive against the World Tourney Secret Rare. I wasn't expecting World Tourney Secret Rare in the Hercule mirror because I wasn't sure who was or wasn't on Demigod Secret Rare, so I did charge to 6, which was a bit of a misplay, but that was kind of a misplay more in hindsight than anything else. But I was able to survive both his swings. I was at 3 life. I was able to combo out of his leader swing, which he tried to put me down to 2 with, and then he swung with his Secret Rare twice, burning 2 of my life by effects, but I had the negates for both these swings, so he was not able to deal the fatal blow to me. I was left with 1 life, and then we eventually went to time after that, and I won the match. So that was pretty fortunate. Great player. Round 4 was actually my stream match on Saturday. I lost 1-0 to the mirror against Ryan Severin. We went to time. It was a grind resource game, but eventually he was able to drop the Secret Rare on me. And in game 2 went to time. You never want to overwhelm in the mirror match, guys. You never want to overwhelm in the mirror match because you want to prioritize that Secret Rare Demigras. If your opponent does drop it first on you, they're mostly going to rip your Demigras out of your hand, so then you are going to have to prioritize different overwhelm plays, but generally you want to prioritize Demigras. But yeah, great game, great match. Shout out to Ryan. That's my boy after this weekend. He's an awesome dude. Round 5, I 2-0'd Hurrigar Zeno again. Same idea as before. Hold the awaken for the kill shot. Prioritizing your Demigod Secret Rare is pretty good in this instance, and siding in the U7 Beerus is really helpful as well. If you can drop a U7 Beerus after they chain Zeno you, it's pretty devastating to them because they're gonna have to get rid of energy because they're not gonna have a hand. Like, they might have to get rid of like 2 or 3 cards in hand, or they have to give up like 1 Zeno in energy. So really solid play to drop on them after that. You definitely want to sideboard in the Beeruses for that matchup. So game 1, I held the awaken for the kill shot, and then game 2, he did force me to awaken and Zeno me. But I was able to resolve double U7 Beerus and Mirror Creator plus Champa for game. So I was just able to rip the nuts back off of getting Chain Zeno'd, combo to refill my hand, and then just whittle them down in the resource game after that. Round 6 was a little bit of a heartbreak. I got paired up with my teammate Pat O'Neill in the Hercule mirror match. So we're playing very similar decks, like 1 to 2 cards off maybe. And you know, honestly, it ended the best way it could have for teammates. We ended up drawing. So what happened was game 1, he resolved Demigras first, and you know, he ripped my hand apart or whatever. But I knew he was out of announcer negates because I checked his warp and he had burned through all of them to set up for his Demigras play. And I had a pretty good idea that he wasn't mainboarding any other form of negates, negate attacks. So I was able to go in for a double strike, Mirror the Creator for game at 185k. So it is possible to come back from a Demigras Secret Rare ripping your hand apart as long as you have the tools to do it and are able to put 2 and 2 together when you see you have any play you can in your hand to potentially do it. It is tough though. It is very tough. Game 2, he won with Demigod Secret Rare. He's able to drop it before I could, and it was pretty devastating. And game 3, he knew it was a draw. We both knew it would go to a draw because the Hercule mirror takes so long. Both games. So we were even surprised that we finished game 2, but to be perfectly honest. So yeah, the game 3 almost always going to go to a draw. Pat actually did side the yellow package, so he had the Crusher Ball for my Demigras, which was pretty devastating, honestly. Yeah, so that was really good. Definitely would consider siding it going into the future. Round 7, I 2-0'd Cell Chain. So another Cell Chain opponent, but like I've never played a deck and felt so comfortable against Cell Chain. Like Hercule can stall the awaken really well with like Zeno button and all your 10k combos, things like that. So game 1, I prioritized the Demigod Secret Rare and ripped its hand to 0. It was actually pretty ironic that I ripped the Cell Chain player's hand to 0, so that was pretty cool. Great opponent though. Definitely don't want to rash on him or anything. In game 2, he couldn't get to 4 life, and I wouldn't let him get there, so he couldn't wipe my hand to 0, even though he was digging for his 1-drop Gohan to put himself down to 4. And he was sitting on 3 super combos, so eventually I built my board with like Haruharus and Trunks Otosukis and Goku Oobs, and then I eventually dropped Fu Shrouded for game and just went in with all my attackers. So that was pretty fortunate as well that he couldn't get the additional card to put him down to 4 life, and then cell chain me and put me to 0. Round 8, I ended up winning 2-0 against Rob Russo in the Hercule mirror match. Once again, my team being onto the Demigod secret rare, he unfortunately did not have that knowledge, so I was able to pull out the win that way, because he wasn't able to really drop that type of threat on me. He actually mentioned to me that his matchup knowledge of the mirror match was trying to deck his opponent out, and that might be a more legitimate method if the Demigod secret rare didn't exist. But the fact that the Demigod secret rare exists, and the fact that you have the ability to play it in this deck, makes it the auto win con. Like, a lot of times when you drop it, it is pretty devastating your opponent, pretty much very hard to come back from, like I mentioned before. And a lot of times it will just win you the matchup straight up in there. Like, I dropped it game 1 and he did scoop because it was so hard to out. I ripped his World Tournament secret rare out of his hand and made him really limited on his play lines. And then in game 2, this is another thing that comes with mirror match knowledge. So game 2, he was comboing out of my attacks that would have let him awaken. And in my instance, and when I'm playing in the mirror match, I want my opponent to awaken me as soon as possible. Like, a lot of times they'll swing at me with a Hercule and they'll combo their 1-drops to draw more cards, and you know, they'll see more cards in their deck that way, but not in the end game, because if I'm awakening first and I can stall them out and they can't see pans, I'm going to see a lot more cards than they're going to be able to see over the course of that game. So a lot of times when I'm playing against a Hercule mirror match, my leader won't swing until I'm awakened to draw even more cards than my opponent. So he was comboing out of some swings to his life, and he was actually helping me awaken. So that actually put me in a really favorable position. And then I was able to resolve the secret rare and use Heaven Beerus on him again. And I won the game actually at 1 card left in deck. So he almost decked me out, but I was able to accrue the resources to really just go for game and push and push and push. Great opponent. Rob Russo's the man. It was super awesome to meet him this weekend. I was super honored to play him since he was a winner at the ARG Boston event back in the summer. So overall, guys, I ended up at a record of 6 wins, 1 loss, and 1 tie. So it was a great record for the day. I was super proud of it. I ended up 5th place overall at the event, like I mentioned before. Really proud of my performance, and thanks again so much to my team for everyone who really helped me, convince me to play the deck and things like that. Really thank you guys all so much. To you guys too, the viewers and the subscribers. You guys really just like motivate me and push me to want to go to these events and really like perform well. Like, knowing you guys back me and support me, it just means the world, guys. Thank you guys so much. You guys are all awesome. But yeah, guys, stay tuned for the day 2 tournament report, which will be out tomorrow. Stay tuned for some awesome player interviews that'll be coming up at the end of this week as well, for different players that play different decks at the event. Check out our Discord server, link down in the description below. This video has been too long. I'm going to stop talking. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Joey. This is CrossFit TCG, and I'll see you next time.